All right. So, Lori and Eric, I want to invite you to talk to us about Circular Colorado and what you guys have been up to since the summit. I think you guys have a couple updates there and see how we can help support you guys.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, so when we were at the summit, I don't know if all of you were there or not. We were not sure about the Circular Economy Development Center, but we are more than sure now because we are, don't laugh, Liz. We're almost 8 weeks into it and running like wildfire here. So how long did you give us, Emily? Because I'll pop my screen up here real quick so people have a good understanding of the center. Do we have like 5 minutes? Is that good? 5, 6 minutes? Oh, you're on mute, Emily. Okay.
I was pulling up the agenda. You have 30 minutes.
Oh, I don't need 30 minutes. Okay. Okay. I'm going to share my screen.
So take as long as you need.
No, 30 minutes would kill you guys. I'm going to share my screen and just run you guys through a quick few slides just because it's easy to explain better this way. Let me move that out of my way. Sorry, I have to do it in PDF, but you guys can see this, so I think that will work fine. So Circular Economy Development Center kicked off July 1st. We are officed at the old Vartega office in Golden, for those of you that know where that used to be. Andrew Maxey was gracious enough to give us some space. So here we are, me and Eric. And I'll tell you about our partners here in a minute. So this is the main office. I kind of wish that they had called it not like the center, because people envision like this grandiose building where it's like some big center that a bunch of people come to. Really, it's just us working feverishly here to make these end markets happen. But here we are. The really cool thing though is in the Recycle Colorado. Well, let's see, what would the word be? Just like Recycle Colorado did, we too are embracing rural Eastern Plains, mountain communities, and we are going to set up satellite offices. These offices will be staffed very part-time, but with a real live person on the ground that is up to speed with the local community, 10 hours a week. Our first satellite office will be in Grand Junction. And after that will be Colorado Springs. And then we will look to place the other 4 in rural mountain, North Colorado, Eastern Plains. So be on the lookout for that. So really cool. That'll give us the opportunity to mirror kind of each community and what they need as far as materials and markets. The purpose for the center: grow existing markets, create new markets, provide infrastructure, systems, logistics, and marketing to create sustainable circular economy for recycled commodities in Colorado. This is funded, for those of you that know the grant programs here, it's funded by the Front Range Waste Diversion Board, as well as the Recycling Resources Economic Opportunity Program, RREO. Together, it's like 60-40 split. That's how this is funded. Oops. Our partners, so we've got partners that are actually part of this proposal. RRS is doing the gap analysis. Just a little quick peek inside, because it's not out. We just launched into this, but there's going to be a really heavy emphasis on looking at manufacturing, looking at inputs. So what we just saw, looking at who's doing what in manufacturing, or that's technically it's processing, but it's also manufacturing essentially, because you're making boards that are new for sale again. So we'll be looking at that. We're looking at a lot of transportation, because as many of you guys know, transportation is the Achilles heel of recycling. We have LBA along now with Liz and Recycle Colorado doing our stakeholder facilitation. Just held our first meeting in La Junta last week. It went great. Our next one is in Grand Junction, September 13th. And I think Recycle Colorado will help get those dates out to folks. We have Paradigm, a local firm doing the website branding and all that good stuff. The Collaboratory is a partner of ours. We're doing a student project with them. If you haven't heard of the Collaboratory, it's super cool. It's NREL, School of Mines, CU, and CSU all come together to form the Collaboratory. And each year they take turns passing the baton of who runs it and administers it. We also have Next Cycle, you guys, I think almost everybody knows, helping us with some marketing and just working alongside. Finding in markets, some of their candidates will be candidates for the Circular Economy Development Center, and then NREL, big supporter on their own, even outside of the collaboratory, looking at space for us and helping us with a lot of research. More collaborators. I'm not going to read it to you. There's the logos. You see Recycle Colorado near and dear. But really embracing, again, the manufacturers and the transporters, some higher ed, and of course, the public and private sector. Here's our main goals. This slide's not done, so I'll have to fill you in a little bit. So super simple. Create 3 new markets, expand 3 existing. A new market, by our definition, is a market for a material that either has no market anywhere, or here in Colorado, all of it's going to the landfill. So you can see the picture of the shingles behind this banner, and so that's a good example. All going to landfill. Drywall, another good example. What are those? C&D materials. Painted treated wood, another good example. So that would be the creation of new markets. But we also have really cool. So we've got a guy coming out of NREL who's working on a polyester to polyester solution as well. Expand 3 existing markets. An existing market, by our definition, what that means for expansion is to take something like, call it aluminum, cardboard, PET. They have markets. They have markets all over the place, but 90+% of that material is leaving Colorado. So we're looking to land a solution here so that all that material doesn't have to leave. So 3 new, 3 existing. Circularity, I think most of you guys are familiar with circular economy stuff, but in a nutshell, when you look at manufacturing new products made from recycled content, or anything for that matter, there's 3 important components that you don't need to do all 3, but at least one. To help keep the stuff out of landfills. So retain product ownership, meaning the producer leases the product versus selling it and maintains ownership. So they're responsible for end of life. Good example of that is carpet tiles. Sometimes you'll lease carpet tiles. When they get old, they'll replace them with new, and then they go back and refurbish those and resell them. Expand a product life. So obviously, it lasts longer. We all know, like the clothes that we wear now, they don't last near what they used to. And we're finding all these textiles in the landfill. And finally, really important, design for recycling. So if you can't dismantle it like a solar panel, then you have a really hard time recycling it. So when we're looking at end market solutions, we look for these components in the product that's going to be manufactured. It's not always a given that we can get it, but that's what we're looking for with the center. This is way beyond recycling. So all of us here been in recycling a long time. Recycling is one piece of this circle or pie, as you would have it, or system. Again, manufacturing and transportation, super critical. Technology, really starting to get government, the public sector involved with these public-private partnerships. If they don't work together with the private sector, we don't really have anywhere to go a lot of times. Funding, so not just grant programs, but venture capital, angel funds, all of that. And then finally, higher ed and research on a lot of these technologies, and even like what we saw, right, with robotics, essentially, really important. And we're almost there. So what we really do at the center is mostly like project management is probably one of the best descriptions that I would use. So solution comes, or we see a gap, go look for a solution. And then we do everything from soup to nuts as far as helping the folks with the solution, the manufacturer, whoever it is, the technology, find a site, get funding, get permits, get linked up with all the industry folks in recycling, transportation, manufacturing, funding, and all of that, and try to help them get across the finish line to actually create a circular economy. That includes recruiting manufacturers, obviously, stakeholder engagement, which we're doing, technical assistance, very similar to project management. A lot of economic development and business development is what this center is about. And of course, the gap analysis. So sample project, super fun, shingle to shingle. So if you haven't heard this, we are working on a shingle to shingle solution with a technology that's been out there for about 7 years, is already producing powders and liquids to go back into asphalt shingle manufacturing. So that's ideal. You take asphalt shingles, it's a mechanical recycling process, then an extraction. but not using any toxic chemicals, which is good to know. We won't deal with those types of solutions and going back into manufacturing. So we've been talking with CDPHE, talking through the asbestos testing protocols and all of that, trying to get ready for this. So that's one sample project. Another one you guys saw, if you went to Next Cycle and you saw Heidi from Bifusion, her block, we were just on the phone with her because it looks like she may be able to land this solution here in Colorado as well. She has a plant in LA. She just put one up in Tucson. Neat partnership there because the city of Tucson also agreed to buy back a lot of the blocks for cityscapes, enclosures, trash enclosures, sheds, things like that. She uses mostly 3 to 7 plastics. There is no harmful processing. It's done mostly with steam, so there's no extrusion or anything like that. Pretty straightforward process. So we're looking at her locating either in the Springs or a little bit further northeast of Denver. So this is our team. I think you know most of these people. Me, Eric Heibauer, who you know from CDPHE and now Circular Colorado, and the infamous Amy Rendell, who has been around since the Recycle Colorado days. So that's it on the center. I just wanted to give you guys that brief overview because I don't think there's been a lot talked about with the Circular Economy Development Center. You know, EPR has been top news story, which it should be because it's very complex. But that's what we're doing. We're off to a big start. We will do a big stakeholder meeting in Denver after the first of the year, so stay tuned for that. And then, like I said, we're on the circuit. We'll also do one in Colorado Springs. Liz, we're doing a smaller version in Fort Morgan as well. So we're out and about in the community trying to find out what everybody's gaps are beyond what we already know. So any questions? But as you see, at least for this council, when we talk about new markets, I mean, we're talking C&D, right? Because it's heavy, it's going to the landfill, and you can't really bail it and ship it out of here. So questions, anybody?
I want to say thanks, Lori, for the presentation. I think I've had questions and we've all kind of wondered, so this was really great to hear. Kind of an initial question I have is like, what are you kind of asking and what are your engagement kind of points with when you're doing these stakeholder outreach meetings?
So what we're doing is going in, so like La Junta, for instance, first we're going in just to learn the community. I mean, we're somewhat familiar, right? We have like the Western Slope Council and we had the Colorado Springs Council with Recycle Colorado. So some of the folks are familiar to us, but we're wanting to understand now from a circular economy perspective where the gap is. So you can imagine a lot of it's in collection, right? But then a lot of it's really quite honestly in transportation. As far as manufacturing goes, they don't usually have the population to be able to recruit a manufacturer because they don't have the input as far as the material in terms of volume. And then as far as getting their material out of here, it's too expensive. So that's really what we're doing. So then we have another kind of a level with the center that we're looking to at least help the rural mountain and Eastern Plains communities start kind of on like mini projects, right? So even if that's like clean wood, like that finger jointing or denailing and then going into pallets. I mean, that's a much smaller scale, but for some communities, that's a good place to start because right now all that wood's going to landfill. Does that answer that question? Okay, cool. Hey, Ryan, good to see you. You got a question?
Hey, Lori. Yeah, I think I saw in, I think, a Recycle Colorado email, maybe somewhere else, that the Circular Economy Center identified tires as a need. I'm curious if you can share your thoughts on the future of tire recycling in Colorado.
I don't know where you saw that. So we don't, I mean, it's just a given need in Colorado. The center hasn't adopted that as a material that we're going to work on yet. It's tough, right? Because you have tires and folks will grind them up and use them for all kinds of things. That loosely, I would call that circularity at its best. But then some of the applications that you look at with tires, we're not sure that they're environmentally safe or friendly. So we've had all kinds of folks contact us already. So as soon as the press releases went out, we folks contact us. We have a form. The website will be up soon. The address, gosh darn, I think it should launch by next week. It will be coloradocedc.org. But we'll send out a release when that actually hits. It's almost done. And there's a form on there, excuse me, for anybody. Eric's made a great intake form for anybody that has a solution that they want the center to look at, is in terms of project management and all of that. And that would be a good place for someone to start. But as far as tires, gosh, you know, you're really talking about pyrolysis, you're talking about carbon black, you're talking about crumb rubber, right? Grinding into mulch, which for me doesn't play out well. So yeah, I think they're just a problem. That's a long-winded way to say we'll look at anything. But so far there's no new secret sauce on tires. Except to not do tires anymore, right? So when we look at circular economy stuff, don't let me get going, Emily, because I'll go. Eric's laughing. Why do we just keep making tires? Why don't we make something else? Yeah, it's obviously a problem. Perhaps we don't need to make all these rubber tires. Perhaps we need a solution for tires, and we need to develop a new product. So that's the kind of stuff we look at as well. But good question. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, it's the Fast and
Do you have
Furious.
an alternative for tires that you had in mind that you want to share? I'm curious.
What? Say what,
Marbles,
Jonathan?
or are we doing these marbles? Like, what's the alternative?
Well, yeah, that's not hard to mine, is it?
No.
I don't yet, but
Hoverboards,
Aluminum cans.
magnetic rails.
yeah, really, right. Aluminum cans, since we ship it all out of here. Yeah, not PET though, that's for sure. I don't, but gosh, you would think if we're making all these EVs and we're doing all this stuff, you'd think somebody could figure it out. Yeah, no, that's funny though. Liz.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Eric. The buy block opportunity, is there anything that this group can do to help facilitate those connections for the buy block operation? Is there room for collaboration that might entice her or make it easier for her to convince her investors to establish a facility here in Colorado?
Yep, absolutely is. So the ideal situation for them is co-location. She ideally needs 10,000 square feet of warehouse space. But she could do it for a little bit less, but 10,000 would be good. So yeah, co-location is one of the best things that anybody could do. We're looking at a couple different options, one with a really large company, who shall be nameless still for a minute, and then a not as large company in Colorado Springs. But the cool thing, since she takes just a variety of plastics, is that she can actually potentially take care of someone's waste stream, right? If they were to be able to co-locate her, and her permits are, she's I1, I2, so she's not I3. She doesn't need heavy industrial zoning. So that's a great question, Liz. Thank you. Great
Would it be
question.
more for like, producers of those pouches or people who are on the collection side?
Could be either, right? So the company in the Springs that we're talking to actually has, it's not, it's not huge amount, but 20 tons of byproduct coming off of out of a processing line, that's able to go right into her block, especially because there's not the like extrusion or anything. It can be multiple plastics, right? So a lot of times with plastics, our challenges are when you have multiple different types, or even just two different types of plastics together, they different melt points. And most folks eventually pelletize and then go back to extruding, right? And that's why they need homogeneous, plastic streams, so that they all melt at the same level. So that's the nice thing about Heidi's block. And I probably am not savvy enough to go find her video real quick and show it to you. But the blocks are used just like CMU blocks. So when I've known Heidi for a few years, but at first I was like, the block made pressed out of plastic. It looks like a potpourri of plastic. But really, it's awesome because it withstands the elements, but it's meant to like slide essentially down like on a rebar type thing, just like Legos. And then it's encased, right? Whether it's encased in like a siding or any type of, it can be like a stucco or anything like that. So it's just like a stick construction, except for you're using that, or I'm sorry, a cinder block, concrete unit block, except it's all recovered plastic. So there's no leaching, like there's no nothing. So although it's very simple, it's a really good solution for now that doesn't require a lot of processing.
And you could put drywall up
Yep,
on it.
right on. Yeah, you can screw into it, nail into it, tool it. You can do all of that. So you can put any other type of covering if you don't like the speckled look of the block, but the block can also be used as is.
Liz put the link in the chat. It's a 1 minute video if we do want to
No
take
video.
a quick look.
Oh, cool. Great, thanks. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you can help there. Usually when we're trying to help somebody, I mean, obviously the first thing is site. Believe it or not, capital like funding isn't always the first challenge. We were super excited, and it may still happen, but we had a really, really cool high volume manufacturer for again 3-7s, film, flex packaging, and all that. But when his group looked at Colorado, it's too expensive to ship out of here. So it's a real big hurdle for us in creating circular economies here. So it's a big thing that we work on.
Hey, I have a quick question about the buy blocks.
Yep.
How durable are they? Like, if you wanted to use them for an outbuilding, maybe as waste enclosures, like, I'm thinking of trash trucks could run into them, cars could run into them. What about something like that? Is the durability, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, they're using them for trash enclosures. Now, I don't know, we haven't talked about the trash truck running into them, but I had 34 drivers and they will run into them. So that's pretty much a given. That's a good question. We'll ask about that. So it's essentially reinforced just like concrete blocks would be, almost the exact same, like with a rebar style deal. But that's a good question. I'll actually ask Heidi about that. As far as that goes, people are building tiny homes out of them, sheds, waste enclosures. And then there's a picture on the website. If you go there, I think it's by fusion.com. They're kind of doing like cityscape type stuff because they're cool looking, used sparingly, not all one piece together.
Cool.
So
Cute. Thanks.
yeah. I mean, it's one solution now, a first step, right, for us. The volume, the tonnage, she can expand to whatever the tonnage is. So it's just about bolting on to the equipment that she has to increase the throughput.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, any more questions? If not, I do have another ask where Recycle Colorado can help with, where all of you guys can help.
I just had one thought. The Jetsons didn't have tires. They had flying cars. So I think that we could get rid of the tires that way.
All together, which would also get rid of the asphalt paving.
Yeah.
There you go. Why not? Those e-bikes are going fast enough that I think we're close. If you guys go on your computer to Ports to Plains, shoot, let me make sure is it .com or .org. I should know this because I'm there all the time. Ports, P-O-R-T-S, to plains.com, and at least read about it, because this is one of the biggest problems for us creating circular economies here is freight lanes, right? You need to establish more trucking lanes to get trucks to move through here, to get manufacturers to be here. However, Ports to Plains, oh, sorry, thanks, Jonathan, P-L-A-I-N-S, like Eastern Plains, portstoplains.com. And I'm shocked that people don't know about this. We found out about it through the transportation folks. So it's an alliance, essentially. They are trying to put together existing highways and build new interstate highways from Texas all the way to Canada to create a freight highway, at least what they call a Super 2, which is a 2-lane highway with a passing lane, but preferably a 4-lane road, to move truck traffic from Mexico to Canada. So what that would mean for Colorado, they're looking at doing it out east. And we won't right now rattle off all the highway numbers. But Colorado has shown no interest, not even a support letter to do a study, which wasn't going to cost them any money. So Texas is moving forward, New Mexico is moving forward, And where it stands right now, they made appropriations and they're moving forward with their highways. Where it's going to stop is in Raton, New Mexico. And then what that would mean is all that traffic right now would dump onto I-25. That's a problem. That's a problem. Nobody wants more truck traffic. And yet I-25 is the only major north-south, south-north corridor that we have. The Dakotas are participating. Idaho is participating. Wyoming, and yet Colorado. So part of what the center is going to do is jump on board and join that alliance and try to help move this project. Colorado's reasoning, I guess, coming out of the governor's office, this is just my understanding, was we really want to focus on electric vehicles. And that's fine, but we still need roads for those to drive on, versus people and rail, sorry, electric vehicles and rail. You know, there's a BNSF is making a big intermodal facility out in Weld County. However, I have yet to see rail play with us recyclers that well and help us move material. So Ports to Plains, just make yourself aware of it. We're going to do, hopefully in October, some type of webinar or stakeholder meeting so at least folks can start to learn about it. But if we don't start to open up some trucking lanes, then we're going to have a real issue trying to build circular economies here.
Yeah. At one time, they had the option of redoing 287, but we didn't do anything.
Didn't do it. Yep. So we've been talking. So Liz, we met with Pro 15 the other day. Kathy, who's the ED there, or the chairperson there. We've been talking to Ports to Plains. So just look for a lot of that to come out of the Circular Economy Center in terms of transportation, because it's a bigger problem, right? People say, oh, we just need end markets. That is just the smallest piece. We do need end markets, but just by collecting more materials, not how we're going to get them. When a manufacturer won't locate here because they can't get their stuff out of here for less than $3.50 to $4 a mile, and we only have 5 million people that can't consume all their products, then we're going to have a really tough time getting end markets here. So we need to look at this type of stuff from a really high level all the way down to what's happening on the street.
Lori, is this like it would be a dedicated truck highway? So you would
I mean, you
basically
can't stop cars from driving on it, but
okay.
all the truckers would love to also come off I-25, right? So when we talk to the Motor Carriage Association and those guys, they don't want to be on I-25 either, because that's this slowing them down. The other beautiful thing about this is we constantly are trying to help grow the Eastern Plains, right? And do economic development, the mountains as well. But here you'd now start to be able to see distribution centers and manufacturing start to locate out there if it's along a main freight highway.
So it'd be almost like a parallel kind of highway system. And then they would come off of that for deliveries to the metro.
Yep.
Yeah. I used to have a manufacturing plant in Lamar, and they used to have Port to Plains signs up and down 287, but then, nobody backed it. They did repave 287 using some of those funds, but they didn't expand the lanes.
No, because they need Colorado to give the okay. And I don't want to bash the governor's office, but they literally couldn't even just get the letter. There's federal funds to do the study. But crazy that we didn't know about it either. So here we go, right? I mean, we got the forward bill passed, and we're just going to go. And so that's where policy wise, that could be really helpful, is for us to join that alliance, and try to move that forward. Because yes, electric is the future. Yes, it'd be great for rail as far as, lower carbon impact, but realistically in the next 20 years, we've got to move. And that's a supply chain issue too. Why do you think we had supply chain issues, right? We got to keep the trucks moving for now. I think that's all we got, Emily.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to kind of know that our council and the work that we're all working on is would be providing solutions to everything that our group really cares about. So I think at first, when our team has talked about, we're like, oh, is it just going to be more like curbside stuff? And this is like tackling the hard the hard items. So I know we're definitely excited about it. So
Good. And we have another asphalt shingle solution as well. I just can't talk about it yet, and it's through the major roofing manufacturer. It's going back into paving, but in a whole different way. Not like the way that we were used to in the past. So talking to Denver about that one, which is good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let us know if there's anything more that you can support on, and if you want to join any future C&D meetings, let us know. I did have like one other question I saw on. I know you're talking about a meeting here in the metro area for early next year. Do you have any plans for like Summit County or the mountain communities? Because I saw the Western Slope, but I didn't see the mountain communities.
Right. So as of now, right, Liz and Eric and Alicia are going to the Mountain Towns Conference.
Okay.
So to try to get folks together there. If you guys haven't gone from Mountain Towns, you should check that out because it's a good one. We're also looking at Durango in the spring. But to be honest, we literally are only in our 7th week and we've already knocked out, right? We've got 3 on the calendar. We've got end markets going. So I would say look closer to the end of the year for the schedule for the remainder of the 12 months that we just started.
Are you sleeping too much on us, Lori? It has
Yeah,
been
you know,
7
James,
weeks.
I'm just like outside gardening most of the time and, you know,
Okay.
walking my dogs. Yeah, I don't really have,
Okay, just checking.
yeah, I work 2 hours a day. I sleep a few hours a day. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So good
Bet.
to see you guys too.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So the next part of our meeting, we're going to talk about our policy toolkit. So we got